vandalized reportedly by Khalistan supporters. So this is the news coming in. A Hindu temple in Australia's Melbourne defaced with anti-India graffiti and pro-Khalistan slogans by an alleged group of Khalistani supporters. A second such incident, remember, that has come to light from Melbourne itself. In fact, some of the officials have been speaking of how they're deeply saddened by this anti-India graffiti that surfaced at the gates of this temple in Mill Park in Melbourne. And calling out the anti-social elements, really, there is a clear Khalistani involvement, because it is being alleged that this has been done by a group of Khalistani supporters. A second such Hindu temple vandalized in Melbourne. Rishabh joining us with more details. Rishabh, what more can you tell us?
So what we know right now, Christine, is that this is the second such attack. Remember, the first attack happened just last week, where Swaminarayan Temple was defaced, and now the second such attack on Hindu temple, and this is the historic Shri Shiva Vishnu Temple of Carrum Downs, and this comes within 1 week. So this is the second time. Again, the same modus operandi, defacing the Hindu temple, writing pro-Khalistan slogans, and causing harm to the walls and artifacts of the temple. We have seen similar attacks in United Kingdom. We have seen similar attacks in Canada, and now even in Australia. Last time around, when there was an attack on Swaminarayan Mandir, when it was defaced, the Swaminarayan Mandir management came out with a statement appealing for global peace. As of now, no official statement has been reported from the temple trust, but a second such incident, and this is worrisome because the pro-Khalistani movement, terrorists or other such institutions are now coming forward and attacking institutions that relate to India and Hinduism per se.
Right. Rishabh, please to stay on with us. We also have Srinjoy joining us live. Srinjoy, second such incident being reported in Melbourne, I think the first time. All right, Srinjoy, before I come across to you, Mr. Sushant Sareen is also with us. Sushant, what does it speak of? Does it reek of desperation on part of such Khalistani supporters attacking Hindu temples in Australia?
Clearly, it speaks of a lot of desperation on their part. And I think what it also speaks of is Khalistanis trying to expand the geography of their movement. There is very little traction that they've received in Australia, except for a few bad apples. But by and large, the Sikh community has not attached itself to the Khalistani movement, unlike in Canada or in the UK, where there's been a license given by both the British government as well as by the Trudeau government in Canada to the Khalistanis, that they can carry out violent acts, they can carry out vile acts, they can carry out vandalism against Hindus and against their places of worship. And the state simply is a bystander. It's a mute bystander. Hell, the Canadians didn't even take action against the people who bombed the airline and killed over 200 people. So, there is that license which is given out there, but that is not really the case in Australia. Australia, again, is a very friendly country. The Australians are aware of the sentiments of people in India. And the Australians even generally do not allow this kind of activity to carry on without the state cracking down. So I would imagine that the Khalistanis are trying to expand their geography. They're trying to create a nuisance in Australia. And I also suspect that this is not just the Khalistanis. I think this is the Pakistanis plus the Khalistanis getting together and trying to do these kind of activities, with, of course, the active encouragement of the Pakistan High Commission out there. Because we've seen that in the UK, we've seen that in Canada, we've seen that in other parts of the world, including in Germany, where Pakistani missions are involved in this kind of activity. They coordinate.
So far, Mr. Sareen, there's a Khalistani link that's coming to light with regards to this attack, and a second such attack on a Hindu temple that has taken place in Melbourne within a week's time. But this also takes us back to what happened, for example, in the United Kingdom. The Hindu community, Hindu temples increasingly coming under attack. This time it's from a Khalistani, this time it's coming in from Khalistani supporters. There also we saw how there were other forces at play. So this is certainly very, very concerning. Thank you, Mr. Sareen, for speaking to us. We have Vinod Bansal of the VHP also joining us on the phone line. Sir, कैसे देखते हैं हिंदू टेम्पल मेलबर्न में फिर से अटैक किया गया, एंटी इंडिया ग्राफिटी दिख रही है इस बार फिर से?
Vinod Bansal ji, aapko awaaz aa rahi hai? All right, we'll just reconnect that line. In the meantime, Shrinjoy, if you can give us more information, because last time when the first attack on the Hindu temple on the Swaminarayan Mandir that was reported in Melbourne, what has been said as different assurances were given even with the Melbourne authorities, calling the vandalism as deeply distressing, also when it comes to the peaceful Hindu community in Victoria, and also what has been quoted saying that the communities, the Hindu, the Sikh and the other communities were deeply disturbed by the attack and how the temple was defaced. A similar modus operandi can be seen in yet another Hindu mandir which has now been attacked in Melbourne again this time, and such kind of slogans and graffiti, anti-India graffiti and anti-Prime Minister graffiti that has now been plastered on the walls and the gates of the temple. In fact, what is being said, even in the last time, in the first attack that was reported in Melbourne by the Hindu Council of Australia's Victoria State President, saying that any kind of hatred and vandalism against places of worship is not acceptable and we condemn it. Vinod Bansal ji हमारे साथ दोबारा जुड़ गए हैं फोन लाइन पर. सर, आपको मेरी आवाज आ रही है? विनोद बंसल जी?
जी जी, आ रही है, आवाज आ रही है, बोलिए.
विनोद बंसल जी, पहले स्वामीनारायण मंदिर में अटैक और हमला होता है, बताया जा रहा है कि दूसरे मंदिर को भी इसी तरीके से डिफेस किया गया है, अटैक किया गया है मेलबर्न में. सर, ऑस्ट्रेलिया में क्या कहेंगे इस पर?
देखिए, कुछ लोग हैं जो कि वर्ल्ड ओवर हिंदू सेंटिमेंट्स को प्रोवोकेट करके और दे वांट टू क्लेम द हिंदू सेंटिमेंट्स, और लगातार बेसिकली वो दे आर गोइंग टू टेस्ट द सेंटिमेंट्स और द पेशेंस ऑफ द हिंदूज एक्चुअली. बट हमें आशा है कि डेफिनेटली द गवर्नमेंट ऑफ ऑस्ट्रेलिया विल टेक द सुटेबल एक्शन एंड बुक द कल्प्रिट्स whosoever he may be. So the government of Australia will definitely initiate the stern action against all those attackers who are trying to attach the sentiments of Hindu community. And you see, the government of Bharat will also initiate action and take up the matter with the counterpart in Australia. We are hopeful that the justice will be given to the Hindus too. And simultaneously, those who are going to test the patience of Hindus should keep in mind that we are not the community which believe in Sartan se Juda, and we believe in the law of the land. And definitely we are hopeful that the action will be taken against all those culprits.
Okay.
And they will be booked, and suitable action will be taken so that the government of Australia will to ensure that no such incidents happen in future also. It is very serious that the second attempt is being made. And,
absolutely. And a second attempt, sir, within a week, in a week's time, we are putting out both those visuals of how anti-India graffiti, was scribbled all over when an attack took place on the 14th. And cut to today, we see a similar incident come to light. Thank you, Mr. Bansal, for speaking to us. Shrinjoy, isn't this worrisome? Like Mr. Sareen was also pointing out, in Australia, this has not been witnessed really. The fact that we're seeing this kind of an anti-India sentiment coming in from Khalistani sympathizers, because, in one such graffiti, as you can see, Bhindrawale is also being hailed as a martyr. So it's very, very worrisome what we're picking up.
Yes, the first, this is not something that has happened in Australia a lot. In some other countries like Canada, most certainly, and India has spoken about it with the Canadians, even with the British. But this is the first and second time in Australia. So you would expect the Indian section in Canberra to get in touch with the authorities to ensure that it doesn't happen.
Well, it remains to be seen how India will be taking up this matter with the Australian counterparts there. Another Hindu temple coming under attack in Melbourne there in Australia. We'll be back after a short break with more news and updates. Stay tuned.